and welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech24, France 24's tech show. In this edition, we tell you more about quantum computing. While you won't be using such a computer to write emails and watch videos, it's set to impact our lives in a big way over the next decade or two, as it helps us solve problems of almost unthinkable complexity. And in Test 24, Dan and Jay Cattle will take you outside the studio for an electric-powered glide on the Seine River here in Paris. Don't miss it. But first, watching out for speed cameras on the side of the road is one thing, but from up in the sky is another. Police forces in France are testing out drones to curb traffic offenses, but also to monitor street protest and counter terrorism. They're increasingly becoming a part of their everyday training, as River Seine explains.
It's the latest craze in the police force. Whether it's to monitor demonstrations, detect migrants on beaches, assess damage on the Notre Dame Cathedral, or track down road hogs, drones are becoming part and parcel of police operations. French police are cracking down on traffic offences on the motorway. They've stopped 34 motorbike riders in only 2 hours' time. Many were surprised.
I've never seen this before. I didn't think they used these methods.
You look out for police, but not for these. You can't stare at the sky while you're riding.
In this academy, members are being trained to become drone officers. Counter-terrorism forces are learning how to fly drones in case of an outbreak of violence.
We carried out a mass shooting exercise in Angoulême in western France a couple of weeks ago. The drone was used just after we launched the operation to guide the teams on the ground. Drones will become a really important part of our routine. We'll be able to see things from a different angle and perhaps take decisions more quickly.
They've also been used to identify vandals in protests, such as during outbursts of violence in the Yellow Vest movement.
We'll soon be able to zoom onto faces, such as black blocks. We'll be able to use these pictures when we arrest individuals to make sure we have the right person.
Drones could one day become part of daily life. In Chula Vista in the United States, a drone continuously watches over the town. Authorities say it's helped them to reduce crime by contributing to 249 arrests in only 3 days' time.
And moving on to a whole other story. It's been hailed the next big thing in computing. Quantum computing promises a new dawn in many sectors, including medicine and material science. But before we discuss the applications of quantum computing, let's first find out where a quantum computer gets its phenomenal processing ability. And we're going to do that with our in-house expert, Dan and Jay Cattle. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Julia.
So how does a quantum computer work?
Well, at the heart of quantum computing are the principles of quantum mechanics, which describe how things work at the atomic scale. Now, according to these principles, atomic particles, whether they are electrons or photons or even an atom, it exists in two or more states at the same time. Now, this is the principle of superposition, and it has been well demonstrated by the double slit experiment, which was devised by Thomas Young, and also by the thought experiment devised by the Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger in 1935, in which a hypothetical cat is dead and alive at the same time. Now, the second principle is called entanglement, and this involves the coupling of two, let's say, photons, and they are said to be entangled because their properties are not independent of each other. So if something happens to one particle, the other particle also gets affected. Now, in terms of computing parlance, for a classical computer, the unit of information, which is 0 and 1, but it can only have one of the two values at any given time. But for quantum computing, you have these qubits, which are the units of information. You can have 0 and 1 simultaneously, so you can have 0 and 1 at the same time. Now, what this helps is, or how this helps is that it adds to to the number of states at any given point of time, and that eventually it leads to better computing or the processing power. In terms of entanglement, because the two qubits are entangled, so they are not independent of each other, so this also helps in secure communication.
So we hear a lot about these quantum computers, but do they already exist?
Well, yes, IBM recently unveiled the Q1 system. It has a very attractive design. It is a machine that is housed in a glass shell, and one of the challenges in making quantum computers is that these systems have to operate at extremely low temperatures because the quantum properties, they can be interfered with because of heat, because of light, and because of magnetic field. So these systems, they run at extremely low temperatures, close to absolute zero, which is minus 273 degrees Celsius. So the typical quantum computer circuit would run at around 15 millikelvin. And there are other examples like the Canadian company D-Wave that has also launched quantum computing systems, and even Google, they launched a quantum processor called Bristlecone.
And how is it set to change our lives in a concrete manner?
Well, wherever big data is involved, quantum computers will play an important role because they will be used to analyze this humongous amount of data. So, for example, in chemistry, they will have a big role to play. They will be able to analyze molecular interactions for producing more efficient and cost-effective drugs. They can also be used to produce fertilizers. And recently, Denso, the Japanese automotive corporation, and Toyota, they have come together and they have used a quantum computing system to analyze traffic congestion. So, for example, they used data from traffic IoT platforms in order to basically to predict or rather to find solutions for traffic decongestion and also for route optimization.
That's right. Well, quantum computing is definitely going to disrupt many sectors, and it's maybe going to put an end completely to encryption as we know it. Well, thank you very much, Dhananjay Kadekar. We're going to stay with you. You're going to take us outside of the studio this week for a very special Test 24.
Today in Test 24, we are going to try two remote-controlled electric boards, a skateboard and an e-foil. Let's go. Today I'm testing the Nimbus electric board made by the Bordeaux-based startup Elwing. This board promises to be the last-mile solution between the endpoints of a mass transit system and your destination. The deck of this board is made of Canadian maple wood, and it has a pronounced concave shape that allows better control. At the back, there's a hub motor that powers the rear wheel. Its maximum speed is 32 kilometers per hour, and there are three modes in which you can operate this electric skateboard. One is the eco mode, second is the city mode, and third is the sport mode. Now, the autonomy of this skateboard is 15 kilometers, and it takes around 90 minutes to charge the lithium-ion battery. Now I'm going to go for a ride, and once I'm done with the electric skateboard, I'm going to try out the Takuma e-foil. We are in Boulogne-Billancourt on the outskirts of Paris, on the banks of the Seine, to try out the new e-foil by the Lille-based startup Takuma. To talk more about what are its features and what advantages does this entire system provide, I am now joined by the co-founder of Takuma, Cyril. Hello, Cyril.
Hello.
Could you tell us the technical specifications of this e-foil?
Yeah. So we have the foil, which is like this mast, and this is the wings that we can plug on the foil. You can plug it this way.
And then this is attached to the board.
And this one is attached to the board, yeah. So you have the wings, who's gonna make you fly, like you can fly about 80 centimeters above the water. So you plug everything under the board, and inside of it you have the battery and the ESC.
Yeah, the battery seems to be quite big. How much autonomy does it provide?
Yeah, you can fly for about 1 hour and a half, pretty much, and that's why it's a little bit big. And yeah, it's about 1 hour and a half, yeah.
And what is the other system in this board?
So that's the ESC, so it's going to control all of the speed, and so it's attached to the battery and to the engine of the foil.
And I guess you control the speed of this board by using the remote control,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. So it's like really easy to use, and you can control the speed and the extra boost if you need.
Right. And what are the advantages of an e-foil over, say, a normal foil?
It's like with the e-foil, you can really use it in every condition, so you don't need wave or wind or anything. So even on the flat water like today, you can really use it and have a lot of fun on it.
Thank you, Cyril. Now Cyril will give us a little demonstration on how to fly on water.